This guy comes through on Fridays. He knows music and movies and television. He is a patron of the arts. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Michael Snyder, everyone, the culture blaster. Hello, sir.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Mark, late breaking news. Just outside the New York City courthouse, where he has been slapped down with a massive financial judgment, Donald Trump is standing with a cardboard sign that says, "We'll rant insanely for cash." Or Big Macs. He will accept Big Macs.
Very cool. Boy, is Michael Snyder with as topical as the last half hour. Very impressive.
I am a living hot button issue, baby.
You are.
Anyway, what a festive week it's been. First, the horror of the Super Bowl. I don't want to get too much in depth with that, but the loss of Dre Greenlaw to a phantom injury, and then the ridiculous lack of holding calls on the Chiefs' offensive line, preventing one of our strengths, the defensive pass rush, from getting to Mahomes, were all very crucial, and, you know, the miscues and what have you, but my team win or lose. But then the revelry of Mardi Gras on Tuesday, the solemnity of Ash Wednesday, juxtaposed with the lovey-dovey delirium of Valentine's Day. I mean,
all right, I'll give you solemnity. I'll give you a juxtaposed.
By the way, this was one of those rare years when Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday fell on the same date. And I know I'm a couple days late, but I hope everybody had a happy Kiss My Ash Wednesday. You know?
I love it. I get it.
And of course, one more quick note about the calendar. It's Chinese New Year. Gung Hei Fat Choi to all, and I hope your butt won't be dragging in this year of the dragon. I think I'm going to go downtown and, there's got to be a big old parade, right?
And get your dragon on?
I will not be dragging my butt, but I will be having fun, I would hope.
All right. Well, I'm excited that you're here. Your recommendations are spot on, typically. And I'm looking forward to this week. What do you have?
Well, thank you. You know, if there's anything I know, it's comic books. I grew up reading them. I can tell you who would win in a fight between the Hulk and the Thing. I know is DC's Dark Side more powerful or Marvel's Galactus? I mean, I know the difference. So take my word for it when I talk about comic book movies. And I'm not saying this because the studio tried to keep critics away from Madam Web to a certain extent, as in last-minute, early-hour screenings a day before reviews needed to be filed, or I'm not saying this because of superhero fatigue, but Madam Web, the latest half-ass attempt by Sony Pictures to capitalize off its contract with Marvel, giving Sony the use of any and all Spider-Man-related characters from Marvel Comics, is a bomb.
Wow.
I need to point out that, Sony's 3 pre-Marvel Cinematic Universe, Sam Raimi helmed Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire were pretty damn good. Maybe not the third, but the 2 follow-up Spidey movies they did with Andrew Garfield they were okay. And the 3 relatively recent movies starring Tom Holland as Peter Spider-Man Parker and done in conjunction with Marvel as part of the Marvel Universe were serious fun and probably my favorites. But every other Sony-controlled live-action Spider-Man spinoff, Venom versus Carnage, and especially Morbius, every one of these was at best mediocre and at worst lame. And to be fair, Sony did hit the jackpot with the brilliantly crafted, explosive animated Spider-Man Spider-Verse movies where they let accomplished creators have their way. But alas, the live-action Spider-Man adjacent movies are mostly exercises in hackery, and Madam Web may be the worst of them.
Wow.
It's certainly the silliest and the clumsiest and possibly the most repetitive.
What's the premise?
Okay. Dakota Johnson plays Cassandra Webb, a Manhattan paramedic whose mother was a scientist studying spiders in the Amazon while pregnant and dies during childbirth, but not before some spider juice in her system gets into baby Cassandra. So now it's the early 2000s, and Cassandra she's working in I guess she's in Manhattan with a fellow EMT named Ben Parker.
Okay.
As in Peter Parker's Uncle Ben. So I'm trying to tie things in, right?
Yeah.
And for the record, by the way, Ben is played by Adam Scott of Parks and Recreation, a sitcom that was intentionally funny.
I see. This is unintentionally funny, is your
I
implication?
think we're getting to the point. It's rescues as usual until Cassandra starts getting glimpses of the future, including alarming visions that have to do with 3 women endangered by some spidery dude who was up to no good. So, right. Cassandra Webb, as in Cassandra, the blind seer of Greek mythology, and Webb, as in, what spiders spin, is getting future visions involving arachnids.
Okay.
Heavy-handed much? Anyway, the 3 women played by Girl of the Moment Sydney Sweeney, Celeste O'Connor, and Isabella Merced are all spider-themed heroes in the comic books, but not for the bulk of the movie. So they have this setup, and we're the Spider Girls, the Spider Women, the Spider Babes. So the Nemesis, played by Tahir Rahim, this guy was so good in the Serpent miniseries, and he is so cashing a paycheck here. He is Spider-Man comic book villain Ezekiel. And none of these people are given much to say that isn't laughably stilted dialogue or to do that isn't like eye-rolling material. And look, when she's given a meaty role with a good script like A Bigger Splash, Johnson does a good job. And here she's trapped in a stinker and sometimes even looks like she wants to hold her nose. Physically looks like she wants to hold her nose. So veteran TV director S.J. Clarkson and her 3 screenwriting collaborators have made this sort of nonsensical comic book movie that used to give comic book movies a bad name. And there are genuinely witty superhero movies out there. This is not one of them, although I did laugh at it in a sort of contemptuous way.
Wow, contemptuous, Dingman.
Madam Web is in theaters.
Man, you really didn't like it. How about, I'm really anxious to hear what you think of this Bob Marley One Love.
All right. As much as I admire the late
because
Bob,
you're a big music guy, and
I admire the late Bob Marley, the dreadlocked poet of reggae music and a benign, peace, love, and weed icon of the Rastafarian religious cult. And as much as his albums with his band, The Wailers, have meant to me over the years, and they've meant a lot, I can't help but admit that this new biopic about the man, Bob Marley, One Love, is kind of dull. And that's the
wow, that's not what I've heard from all the pedestrian civilians who are not in the kind of
place
that you are.
I was wrapped up in a lot of it, but it's all very much on the surface. Wow. Okay.
Doesn't anybody better weed?
Were you with the weed when you were seeing it? No. Okay.
I hadn't taken a gummy. I just went in there completely sober.
Okay.
Listen, I believe in
maybe that was the problem.
Being astute when I do these.
I understand.
Reviews.
Yeah, you keep utter clarity. Despite
solid performances by Kingsley Benadir as Marley and Lashana Lynch as his wife Rita, and some heaping helpings of the man's music, original tracks and recreations throughout. I mean, we're talking Get Up, Stand Up, One Love, Lively Up Yourself, Don't Worry About a Thing, Jamming, Is This Love, Stir It Up, Buffalo Soldier.
Sure.
How about No Woman, No Cry, which I originally thought meant if you don't have a girlfriend, you're not going to be miserable. But that's really not what it's about.
How dare you?
I know.
I love it.
So the film is directed by Ronaldo Marcus Green and approved by members of the Marley family who are still with us. And it tries to make a case for his musical and cultural significance and his status as a force for goodness and unity on the geopolitical front, especially in his native Jamaica. And that's despite sinister types who were aligned against him and tried to bring him down with guns and ammunition, man.
All right.
And I was not blown away, okay? Will this movie bring followers to Rastafarianism and its supposed prophet, the late Haile Selassie?
Oh.
Highly unlikely. As a matter of fact, what we have here is a boilerplate movie biography. Yes, it's great that they did this thing about Bob Marley and are bringing him to audiences who are moviegoers, but, this happened, then he was shot, then he recorded his biggest album in London at the height of the punk movement, and then his wife Rita, one of the I3's backup singers in the Wailers, confronts him about his extramarital dalliances and so on. But for all of the effort to recreate his life and times with flashbacks to his childhood, the youthful start of his romance with Rita, early career stuff, and regardless of the committed work by Benadir as Bob and Lynch as Rita, it never seems to dig deep enough.
Wow.
That's the problem with this thing. I mean, the script is by 4 writers, including the director, and it feels like it could have been based on a Wikipedia page. I mean, maybe his life would have been better served by a miniseries that could have done right by his odyssey from the trench-town shacks of his youth to global superstardom, and I am sure Whalers fans might enjoy it, but as much as this Whalers fan appreciated Marley's life and music, being honored by a feature film, nothing lingered in the aftermath other than the echo of his most famous songs. Bob Marley, One Love is in theaters.
Wow. I'm really surprised by this, Michael Snyder.
I've
heard really from my friends, I've heard it's really great.
It's not bad. It's just all surface. And again, it goes from here to here to here to here to here, and it doesn't linger.
Wow. No
enough.
soul. Would you call it soulless, Michael? Would you
No,
call it soulless,
There's
sir?
a lot of soul on the screen. I mean,
Would you call it soulless? I'm asking you, would you call it soulless, yes or no?
You want to hear about soul? I'm going to tell you about soul.
All right.
Can you let him finish, sir?
All right, I'll let him finish. Go
Wim
ahead.
Wenders, whose starkly beautiful and bittersweetly romantic and thoroughly fantastical Wings of Desire is in my top 20 movies of all time.
Yes.
He's the embodiment of the idiosyncratic filmmaker.
Idiosyncratic.
He's also pretty eclectic. You got your gritty interpersonal drama, Paris, Texas. There's a period San Francisco detective story, Hammett, and the Cuban music documentary, Buena Vista Social Club. They're among his notable achievements. German-born man, but, he works in English and Spanish as well as German. And
Right.
with Perfect Days, he's giving Japanese a go. And in the process, Wenders tries something different from all of his previous projects. He points his camera at the daily and nightly activities of Hirayama, a man who cleans public toilets in Tokyo.
Oh, yes. I've heard
That's-
about this being very good.
Oh,
Did you
it's
like this?
wonderful, wonderful.
All right, sorry,
Does it
go ahead.
sound drab and even boring? Don't be misled. I should note that despite the attention and the verity and the detail in his
Verity's a
depiction,
dang word.
in his
And
depiction of a
eclectic is a dang
professional toilet cleaner,
Yeah.
Perfect Days is not a documentary or a docudrama. With a script written by Wenders and Takuma Takasaki, Perfect Days shows the sometimes unpleasant requirements of the profession while revealing the simple beauty in Hirayama's life. Things that spark joy for him, his love of music, his occasional breaks to shoot nature photographs in the urban parks where his job sometimes takes him, and the unexpected connections he makes with a range of people during the course of his work. So as Hirayama goes about his business, Perfect Days also slowly divulges bits and pieces of his backstory. So the superb actor Koji Yakusho, I met the guy, and I'm having trouble with his last name, but
Yeah, that's all right. That's okay.
He plays Hirayama, and he's on screen for almost the entirety of Perfect Days. He brings warmth and whimsy and subtle emotions to the part. Complexity amidst the simplicity. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And by the way, Yakusho starred in the charming art house hit Shall We Dance, which was remade in the U.S. with Richard Gere in the lead role. In case you want to know who this guy is, he is a big star in Japan.
Wow.
This may be a little arcane for those of us who are not cinephiles, but Perfect Days recalls the work of the masterful Japanese director Yasujiro Ozu, movies like 1953's Tokyo Story that gazed upon the quiet daily doings of ordinary people making their ways through life as best as they can. Perfect Days does the same, as Wenders shows the nuts and bolts of Hirayama's toil and the unpretentious pleasures that color his world. And this is done without any condescension. There's like delicacy and poetry to Perfect Days. It was inspiring. I loved it. And it's in theaters right now.
It sounds as though this is your pick.
Absolutely.
We have time for only one more, sir, because I want to get David Katz, who has agreed to come on in an urgent way before we sign off.
Are you really? Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, one more.
When you have Russell Crowe and two Hemsworth brothers, Liam and Luke, not Chris, by the way, in your movie, odds are that there's going to be more than a whiff of testosterone to the proceedings. And sure enough, Land of Bad, which appears to be an Aussie production, despite all these guys playing American military men, is an action-filled thriller about a special forces operation in the Philippines that goes off the rails and requires an extraction. It's manly men doing manly things with phallic boomsticks in hand. Liam, who is probably best known from the Hunger Games, is the main Hemsworth here, and he plays Kinney, a first-timer, on a mission that seems to be an attempt to kill an Islamic terrorist or terrorists and destroy their stronghold, again in the Philippines. When Kinney escapes an ambush, he's determined to survive and try to save any members of his unit who were captured and might still be alive. The Americans are sending in an airstrike, so he's got to be quick about it. And to get out unscathed, he needs to rely on the drone pilots back on the U.S. base, who are led by aging, portly Maverick Officer Reaper, played by the aging, portly Maverick Crow, by the way. The Hemsworth named Luke from TV's Westworld, and Milo Ventimiglia from TV's This Is Us play two of Kinney's fellow soldiers. As firefights and torture scenes mount up, the director and co-screenwriter William Eubank keeps the plate spinning. I mean, the missiles flying and the bombs dropping. Land of Bad, maybe a B movie in the bang and boom modern day stealth war genre, but the tension is palpable and kept me glued to the screen. And even with his butt planted in front of a bunch of video monitors and control panels using a joystick to fly his drones, Crow still has the magnetism and star quality that makes him such a welcome presence in a whole range of movies. Land of Bad ain't bad at all, especially if you're a moviegoer looking for some machismo.
Oh, wow.
It's in theaters.
Palpable is a ding word.
Land of Bad in theaters.
All right, thank you, Michael. I'm sorry to have to wrap up, but I am going to recap. Land of Bad, you've just heard Liam Hemsworth, Russell Crowe, Luke Hemsworth. I mean, my God. There's just so much man on that screen. Yeah. And you need that much man when you're fighting Islamic terrorism in the Philippines. Am I right?
Absolutely.
You're damn straight I'm right.
It's a throwaway, but I totally enjoyed watching it. Let's put it that way.
He loved it as a throwaway.
Well, I didn't love it. I liked it very much.
He liked it as a throwaway. Bob Marley, One Love. He didn't say it, but I'll say it based on his review. Soulless.
No, it just...
You said it was surface like a Wikipedia page.
Yeah, okay,
that's what you said.
Fine. One Love.
All right. I still am going to give it a ride.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Well, one of them is going to be going to see One Love. In the chat, many people are saying, drop a little, go see it. People will go to Marley Movie for music, says Lori.
Listen to the album.
Stay home and get baked watching One Love, says Julie.
Right.
Search engines say Bob Marley enjoyed Sativa Strain, says Chris. Arcane is a ding word, says Tom. All right.
Madam Web, yikes.
Now, Madam Web, the Spider-Man related spinoff with Dakota Johnson. What could possibly be wrong? Michael says everything's wrong with it. It's not funny. Except
unintentionally
in a
funny.
laugh at it way.
Yeah.
Tahar Rahim, sadly, in a bomb. He called it a bomb. And
so,
let's review.
Perfect Days is the movie that I am unimpeachably in love with this week.
Perfect Days. And that is the movie about the guy who cleans the
public toilets.
Tokyo.
But he's a wonderful man, at least the character is. And by the way, the actor, I met the actor, charming fellow.
Speaks English?
Through an interpreter, I said, you remind me of someone. The guy, what's his name? Richard Gere. That's who you remind me of. And he laughed his ass off.
Oh, that's great. I love that you met him.
The role in the English language version of Shall We Dance, the role that he made famous. Anyway, yeah.
Koji Yakusho.
Yeah.
Perfect Days. That will definitely be a movie that I check out. Michael, you're so kind to be with us every week. You can follow Michael across social media. He is the Culture Blaster, and he comes and goes on a rainbow.
Go Warriors!
Go! Sorry about the Niners, pal.
I know.
All right. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.